Well, hello there, my friends. This is your boy, Garrett J. White, your co-host here at the Date Your Wife podcast. Welcome to episode number 9. Number 9. This one's going to be a shorter one. Danielle, tell them why it's going to be a shorter one.
It's going to be a shorter one because it's Saturday and we got kid stuff to do.
Yeah, it's going to be a shorter one because we got kids stuff to do.
Mm-hmm.
We got some kids stuff to do. The kids stuff ever get in the way of doing stuff? Or is kids stuff the reason we do stuff?
It's just part of the stuff. I'm just irritated because I didn't have time to wash my hair.
Well, you didn't have to come do the show. I could have done it by myself.
I just was thinking that I didn't realize we had so little time.
Yeah, well, you were lollygagging. Like, you were doing some serious lollygagging.
I was in
You
La
came
La
in,
Land.
you pulled into the driveway at like 9:15. And then we didn't get out of there until like 10:40.
Mm-hmm.
Why did it take you so long?
I wasn't thinking. I don't know. Saturday. I got Saturday brain.
All right, so let's get to the point of why we're doing this show. We're going to give if you're new here to the Date Your Wife podcast, you may have never heard of anything about us, and if you haven't, well, you go ahead and Google us. Google Danielle K. White or Google Garrett J. White. You can Google Wake Up Warrior, DKW Styling, NBR Tribe, Warrior Week, Warrior on Fire, Warrior Wealth. You can look at Natural Beta Bros. You can look at Big Money Stylist. There's a lot of shit that we're up to in business, but the piece we're here on this show. Well, Danielle, tell them why we're doing this show. I mean, you're irritated because you didn't get your hair done already, and this is going to be a shorter show because we got to go pick the kids up. So,
we are doing this show because it was time.
It was time. It was time to do what? Time to do the show, or it was time to wash your hair and you're still irritated because it's not washed?
No, I am also feeling slightly nauseous.
You're feeling nauseous, really?
Bit, but I'm gonna pull.
You're gonna focus. You gonna pull.
I just gotta be real.
Do you want to tell them why you're feeling nauseous?
I don't. I'll tell them later.
Tell them later. All right. We'll tell them why you're feeling nauseous later. You guys, hint, hint, hint. All right. Anyways, so we are here and we're going to talk today about communication. And interestingly enough, it'll be our shortest show to date, and it's going to be the one on communication. We do this every single week. We're going to talk about a different topic here at Date Your Wife. This is really being powered by the Wake Up Warrior movement. And we do this show because of a lot of different reasons. Men and women trying to have conversations together and be connected together. It's a difficult game just in life in general. And underneath the framework known as the Warrior's Way, we've begun to lead thousands of men around the world in 27 different countries to empower them to be able to take a stand as individuals. But also inside of that stand as individuals, they're learning how to do this with their partner. Oh, and that's what Date Your Wife podcast is about. It's the first time Danielle and I have ever done something together on a show, and today we're going to get started. We're not going to talk about sex today. We're not going to talk about money today. We're not going to, well, we could.
We're going to talk about communication. Let's get on with
Let's
it.
get
Woo!
on with it. All right, communication. Recently, you've been studying about yourself.
No,
tell us about the studies you've been doing about yourself, because you've been studying yourself. You used to tell me it was bullshit. You would never study anything about yourself because you figured you already knew yourself.
Astrology.
All right, tell us about this.
I was simply studying astrology because I like to understand personalities better, and
like you were studying other people's personalities, or you were studying your own?
No, I was like kind of studying all of it, and specifically like I was studying your personality. I was studying mine because there's times where I feel like we can't communicate, where I'm just like, oh my God, you're from another planet. Turns out, according to astrology, you are. So now that we've gotten that out of the way.
So I am from another planet.
Yeah,
What's the one thing that's so interesting to you?
You're not.
What's the one thing most interesting to you that you've learned about me?
We got married. Just kidding.
Okay, tell us about that. What did you learn in astrology about you're a Taurus? What am I? A Gemini.
You're a Gemini and a Taurus.
I'm a Gemini and you're a Taurus. I don't even know what this means, but you do. So give us a little insight on what this Gemini Taurus thing is all about.
Gemini, Taurus are, I just like reading about it. I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds like me. They're like sweet and easygoing, but kind of stubborn. They can be stubborn, I guess, and that's why. Like,
is the word kinda very much bold? Is it bold in the words that you were reading? Did they bold and underline and highlight that one?
They don't, but you know what they said? They said that Geminis will often refer to a Taurus as very stubborn, even though a Taurus may not see themselves as stubborn. I would like to reframe it as saying
because you are literally stubborn.
Yeah, for all of you who know a Taurus, like fuck off, and just know that it's not stubborn. It's committed. It's hardworking and committed. Okay?
I would give you that you're hardworking and
No,
committed.
and it says that about a Taurus. It
Really?
says they're usually hardworking, but they enjoy beautiful things in life and balance. And I was like, amen to that, right?
Yeah, well, you've introduced me
And
to
they
that.
said it also says they have high standards and they enjoy the finer things of life.
That's
and
why
they
you married
love,
me.
Yeah.
You have high standards. You married me.
Yeah, so it was interesting. And then
I'm at the top of the totem pole. Right up
Pretty
there
much,
at the top of the totem pole. There
says
I was. The finer things in life.
it wasn't like one
Like a great
specific
bottle of
website.
wine.
It was like a bunch of websites.
Okay. You started studying this while we were in Hawaii. Why did you do this? Were you just bored? Or did you feel like this calling to like study yourself? Because you normally don't study yourself that way. You know yourself really well, but you normally don't study.
I was sitting there with Bailey, and sometimes I'm even trying to understand Bailey.
Okay.
And because I feel like she's a lot like me, but she's a lot like you too. So I'm
She's
all
like a blended mix.
yeah, she's a blended mix. So I was just like trying to understand all of us better.
Okay.
And then I just kind of got like sucked into the vortex, and I was like reading about everybody, and then I was reading about like a Gemini and a Taurus relationship together and like all sorts of stuff. So you should read about yourself. You're
I do. I've read about myself for like 15 years.
No,
I've read
you
about
don't
myself.
study astrology though.
I have.
You do
it's
not.
It's called a natal chart, and it's actually
Okay,
with a
tell me
company
about
called,
it. Okay, then
called
tell me about a Gemini.
AstroWow.
Okay, tell me about a Gemini then.
AstroWow.com.
Tell me about a Gemini
Not a
then.
sponsor of this show, but it's a tool that I use in Soul Purpose
That's
Blueprint.
great that you're giving him a shout out. Now tell me
What do I know about Gemini?
Yeah, what do you know about a Gemini?
We run the universe. That's what I know.
That's actually not what it says at all.
It actually says that Geminis have the gift of two things.
No,
number
it
one
says
being
the
the
number
sexual
one.
gods
Oh my
of
God!
the universe.
It actually says the Taurus is better in bed, so let's put that away. And
shit.
secondly, it
Oh.
says that you are very good at communication, and
Well,
it
there
said that's
we
probably
go.
your strongest suit, and
Okay.
that if you try to argue with a Gemini,
You will lose.
No, they're so good at negotiating, flipping the argument, even if you're right. They
Yes,
will flip
you will
it.
be wrong.
You will be wrong, and they said that's hard for a Taurus because a Taurus usually is right. So better
So
in
what
bed
a-
and also better at communicating, I guess, are my strong suits. So let's just go ahead and chalk that up on
Should
that.
we just end the show now?
We're good. Have a great night, and we'll see you on the next show. Hope you enjoyed this.
Well done. You crazy woman. I'm taking back control. If you're
All
watching
right.
this show, I've literally just taken her off the camera. It's just me now. Geminis, I feel for you. All right, so there's this there's this understanding of oneself that actually directly affects communication. Now, I've been studying myself for a very long time. Danielle kind of understood herself better than I understood myself, so I've spent a lot of time understanding myself through study. I've taken a lot of tests, Colby tests, Strengths Finders, DISC assessments. What other shit have I taken? Color code tests. I've gone to huge workshops, seminars, experiential training events. I've been studying Scientology. I've studied inside of Buddhism, Hinduism, Christianity. I've studied the Quran. I've studied spiritual books, scientific books. I've spent the last 15 years trying to figure out who I am. And Danielle, obviously on one beach with a margarita, figured her entire shit out in about 10 minutes. Me, on the other hand, it took me 15 years to figure out what was going on. But here was the thing that was interesting. I used to think Danielle was a dog.
Thanks.
But I actually found out that you were a cat.
Nope.
You're not a cat?
I'm not a cat either.
What are you?
You can't put me in a box.
What I mean by that is that I had all of these assumptions about how she operated. And the assumptions were derived directly from what I assumed was true for her based upon what I assumed was true for me. Now, Danielle, what you're finding out then is that we are not the same people. Is this accurate?
Yeah. Well, it's more of I'm just trying to get a better understanding of how we operate and why we do the things we do.
But why do you care about it? Let's make this about communication, because it literally
I think a lot of times,
what are
a
you
lot of
saying
times
here?
with communication specifically, that's what triggers people. You could say something and it could trigger somebody, but if you don't have an understanding of who they are and what they're coming from, what their intentions are, it triggers them, and it just kind of, I don't know, just trying to figure out what makes us tick.
So you shared some things with me here recently that actually affect communication.
What did I?
You shared with me that you were upset at me.
Oh, you know
weren't
what
upset, but I got upset and triggered, and then I attacked you and reframed like a Gemini does, and you were like, whatever. But what were you sharing with me? Share with them what you were sharing with me.
Well, I can't remember what I
You were
specifically
texting
shared.
me, and we were talking on the phone, and I was heading to go float, and then it turned into a little bit of a battle. And you were not trying to turn it into a battle, but I am a Gemini, so I turned it into a battle. And
I was
you were trying to communicate about what you actually want.
Well, because you're always asking me, you're like, my. If you listen to some of our other shows, Garrett's always like, my love language is like, tell me, touch me, fuck me. And
TTF, my friends.
It's interesting because he always had this story of me being an ice princess and I'm not very touchy-feely and all this. And I'm like, I actually feel like I am, but I don't. But I'm also like, if I don't feel like I'm connected with somebody, I'm a little bit cold and like just kind of like,
a little standoffish.
Standoffish, and like I'm just kind of like, you got to warm up to get into my bubble. And so for like when I was kind of reading about you and your personalities, it basically was like a Gemini can live in a box as long as they have communication to the outside world. And they're always like go, go, go. They love change. They love variety. If you don't like to go out, they will most likely go out. And Garrett doesn't go out, but you're often like working late and you're like, I got this project and this project and this project. And I was like, I don't care if you were the manager of a grocery store. Like your personality is like go, go, go. And I was like, and I have tried to like change that, but it's to the point where I'm like, okay, I need to accept it. But I also believe in a relationship. If like my love language or my form of communication is like, I need somebody to kind of be there with me and time and that kind of thing. It's like we both have to find a way to meet in the middle. And so I noticed with Garrett this last week, I was like, gosh, it seems like during the week, like we go out twice a week on date nights, which I think is super important.
We have another date night tonight.
Yeah. And it's great for us to connect. But I was like, you know what? I'm just bugged because like, every other night I felt like this week it was like you were working till like 7. It was like 7, then 7:30.
Like 8 o'clock.
Like 8 o'clock. And I was like, oh my God, like by then it's like you spend an hour with the kids, like because you're excited to see that. And it's hard to have like one-on-one time. It's fine to have family time, or sometimes I'll use that time. Like when he gets home at 8 o'clock, I'm like, oh good, I like to have like an hour of me time where it's like I'm just kind of shutting my brain down.
What happens.
Yeah, so it's like you'll play with the kids from like 8 to 9 and then it's like bedtime.
10:30.
Yeah,
they don't go to bed.
They don't go to bed. No, I try to. I usually start yelling at Garrett about 9:30. I'm like, it's a school night because I like to be very. I'm like, I like to have a structure at nighttime, which is weird because you're so routine. It's weird that you're not routined with bedtime with the kids. But I'm always like so tired and like, and I'm just kind of like, all right, well, you'll put him to bed, and he's like, okay. And sometimes I do, but usually it's Garrett that puts him to bed. But anyways, I was expressing to him, I'm like, hey, like you have been working like till 8 o'clock like every night, and I was just trying to say like, you know, one of my things is like I'd love to spend more time with you, and instead he got irritated and started getting mad at me and flipped it into an argument, and I was like, of course you do, you Gemini, that's what you do. And so I was like, whatever. And instead of being triggered, I was kind of like, I get that that's like his MO, that's like what he does. And so I just kind of was like, I'm not going to talk to you right now. And like I just like hung up and diffused the situation. Then he started a text battle, and I was like, you
started texting me first.
Oh yeah, that's true, because I didn't want to yell at you. So I was like, I'm just going to text him my thoughts,
and then texted me.
Because I was like, I don't want to get triggered, so I'm just going to end this conversation.
Then I audio noted you.
Yeah, and then I was like, that fucker. And so then
you text me and I audio noted you again.
Yeah. Either way, I was like, listen, I kind of came to the thing. I said, listen, I'm not trying to start an argument. And I learned that like with your personality, like you're always going to be right. And so that's fine.
It's about time you acknowledge
I was like, no. It's you like to win the argument. Let me rephrase that. You're not always right.
Well, I was like, I just saw my window. I was like, oh, she just said it for the first time in 17 years we've been together. You're always right. I love it.
No, you have to always end an argument thinking you're right.
Record. I'm going to put that as my ringtone.
Such an asshole. Like, anyway, so we ended the conversation, and I clearly won because he said sorry, and I'll make sure that I am home more often.
That was after I floated in an isolation, Epsom salt float tank for an hour. I had some thoughts in there.
Good for you.
In so I still win. Tank. So we came back, and here was what things started going back and forth. Though I was like, listen, like here's how I feel. Right? Because what we were talking about is how we feel. Now, I realized two things. Number one, my wife was actually giving me what I wanted, and yet here I was kind of rejecting what I'd wanted. I wanted her to actually communicate with me and tell me what the hell she wanted. So she was trying to tell me what the hell she wanted, and I was getting pissed and flipping it on her.
I even brought it up so nicely. I was like, hey, I was studying, and
you
like,
did do it nice.
I just know that I need like more time, and I know you like to go, go, go. And then that's when I was like, you could, and you were like, well, I'm under a lot of pressure. And I'm like, I'm validating that you've been under a lot of pressure.
You didn't say that.
Yes, I did. You look back at the text. You look back at the text.
Not before it went to the text battle. In the conversation.
Either way, I know at some point I said, hey, I know that you're stressed out.
That was after I sent you 3 audio
Doesn't
notes.
matter. You're missing the point. So after I had said, like, I know you're stressed out. All I'm trying to bring to your attention is like, this is what I need, and you're always asking me. So like, it is what it is.
And then I came back and I shared something with you. I shared with you about bank accounts and making deposits. Do you remember this? I sent you like a 4-minute
and
audio.
I was like,
what
cool.
did you take from this? Because I never knew it. What did you take from this?
I clearly gave you a heart emoji.
Heart emojis don't mean shit. I'm talking about deposits. So one of the things we brought up is that we were having this conversation and communication. I said, listen, the problem is you don't make any deposits and tell me I'm doing a great job, which is very important for me because words of affirmation are a very important thing. And you were not making deposits.
Communication is such a big thing for you, and you just always need tons of validation and tons of communication and tons of like praise. And like I also read about you that like you act like you are like this
demigod?
No, this like super sexual being. But I was like,
oh, I am.
You are, but you're more your personality is you need so much more to feel connected. Like you need it in like every area. Like, and one of them that's big for you is communication. And I would bet that that's bigger for you than anything else.
Surfing is pretty big. Communication is also very big.
Surfing doesn't.
But I'm not going to take the naked exchange, put it down on the lower level. It's up there.
No, I disagree. I think if you were married to somebody else and you were getting laid every night, you'd get bored.
You think I'd get bored if I got laid every night? Are you open to testing this?
No,
are you open to testing me getting laid every night and see if I get bored?
You wouldn't give me the time to get laid every night. I'd be like, waiting at home naked, and I'd be like, Garrett's still not home. He said, but I'm ready, and he's not home. That's so weird. It's 8:05. It's 8:45.
Not true.
It's so true.
Okay. All right. So
okay. Our communication is going well this show. Let's move on.
All right, so let's come back to this. So, like, you and I years ago, they actually, like, probably our biggest breakthrough on this idea of being able to communicate with each other came down to a book we had read called Love Languages. Now, you didn't really read it. I think you just cruised through the cover and then made some assumptions. I, on the other hand, actually read and studied it. But it actually opened up some conversation for you and I about what we both wanted. And I think it was the first time that I realized that my wife, she didn't want to be touched and she didn't want to be, which is weird because you don't want to be touched. But you're telling me you do want to be touched.
You are never.
Now I'm like, what the fuck's going on? Because I was about to make a point. But recently with these star charts, you've been telling me you do want to be touched.
No, I was like, I love cuddling. I love like sitting on the couch and like, but you're like.
You do?
Yes.
But you're always on your phone.
I don't care. I don't want to talk.
So you want to touch?
I just want to like.
But then I try to put my hand like on your breast or something, and that doesn't work out.
Oh my God, no! I just want to like cuddle. I don't want like boob grabs and ass grabs.
No ass grabs and boob grabs.
And then talk about our feelings. I don't want to fucking do that. I want to sit there. I want to look at my phone. I want to debrief, and I want to put my legs on your lap. So shut up.
I don't want.
Okay, I
don't want any ass grabs, boob grabs, and I don't want to talk about my feelings.
No.
All right, you're like an anomaly woman.
Oh my God, ladies, if you will please back me up. He thinks I am crazy. He says I am not like most women. I'm like, I disagree. I know that you like to talk about your feelings, but
I do like to talk about my feelings.
And then I try to express my feelings to you, and you tell me to screw off.
Okay, well, let's come back to a piece here. So part of this was getting to understand what mattered to each other and also being able to help fill up each other's gas tanks. So when Danielle's gas tank fills low, she has zero desire to be able to fill up my gas tank. When my gas tank's low, I have zero desire to fill up her gas tank, and we start to drift and we become strangers in the night. That stranger in the night goes and drifts into weeks and weeks and weeks. And we go sometimes months and months, and next thing you know, we're like, this is bullshit, we're getting divorced. And that's what it was our pattern, and that always came down to the fact that she was trying to service me the way that she wanted to be serviced, and I was trying to service her the way the way I wanted to be serviced. So like I would, if I send her a love note, she doesn't give a shit. So I had to start realizing that I send her love notes because I want to send love notes basically to myself. So I send them to her,
and I put Danielle in there. Send them to you?
You want to outsource your love? You're looking for somebody in the Philippines to outsource this to? I mean, you probably could. I mean, you know, the thing is funny.
If it makes you happier.
Well, then don't tell me about it. Go outsource and get me a daily goddamn love you note sent via text.
Don't outsource
at 6:15 a.m.
You can't outsource other things, okay? Just.
Oh, you mean like outsource being home? Like I'll just have a guy show up at like 4:30?
I can't outsource other things. I'm not going to send the same love note girl to you.
Oh, you're not going to you're not going to outsource sex?
I know.
And send me a side thing? All right, listen, like I could actually hire a guy and just have him show up at 4:00. He's like
For me or you?
Yeah, he just sits on the couch, you put your legs on him. I was like, bro, no, you just sit there. She'll put her legs on you. I'll pay you $20 an hour. It's gonna be good.
Nice.
I'm just playing.
He doesn't have to say anything, right?
He can't say anything. We'll just
but
get
he's
one that
good
can't
looking
talk.
and he just sits there.
Yeah, good looking guy just sits there. You put your legs on
I
him.
like it.
This is a new business. It's like a blow-up doll for moms, for women that just want a guy to...
It's a little awkward when the kids come in the room. Who's this?
This is Eduardo.
Just ignore
What is
Eduardo.
Eduardo is my... What do they do with the dogs? You get a dog, a service dog? This is my service... He's
my service dummy.
All right, so communication is a real deal, though. And part of being able to understand your partner is being able to understand yourself. And if you understand yourself, then you can actually clearly communicate to your partner what it is that you want. And we couldn't do this for a long time. And so I would get frustrated. Danielle would get frustrated. We wouldn't be able to communicate with each other. Right now you can hear kind of the banter. We go back and forth. We don't agree on like a lot of shit. Like we actually passionately disagree on about 80% of life. But outside of that 20%.
No, I don't think.
I think we disagree on 80%.
No, I think we.
You think it's 42%?
No, I actually.
73.6%.
Oh my God. I know. I actually think we actually like our.
I think we've started to become more on the same page over 17 years.
I think that where we're at in life, we have a lot of respect for how hard we've worked to get here. Yeah. And even though we might not think the same, I think we have the same intentions and goals.
I think we have the same energy of drive beneath us. I agree with that.
Sure.
But we definitely don't agree on everything. And that's okay, though. I used to think we had to agree on everything. Why do we not have to agree on everything? Why are you okay with not agreeing on everything? Because we seem to have, like, that was the problem, is that we would, like, get dug in.
I think
like
couples spend so much time trying to get somebody to agree with them, only to realize, like, it's fine. I'm never going to get you to see the world the way I see it. And I need to just accept that and not let it, like, build up. You know what I mean?
I do. Okay, so knowing yourself. This is principle number 1. The better you know yourself, the better you can communicate with your spouse. If you don't study yourself, then you can't communicate to your spouse what it is that you need, you want, or you desire. Now, let's move to our final thing. We got like 8 minutes. We're going to finish this up. It's going to be half the time.
I really want you to read more about the astrology stuff.
I do. I read about it a ton.
I think you'll understand that I'm not, like you always are like, you're an anomaly. You're crazy. And I'm like.
You say I'm crazy. You told me I should get medicated.
I haven't said that in the last year.
You haven't said that in the last, probably last year. Actually, you haven't.
Yeah.
Well done, babe.
No,
you told me I need to go to a doctor and get medicated for the last, like, 2 years.
I was really in my accepting mode.
I think we just got to a place where you've just, okay. Yeah. I've accepted that, too, about you.
Yeah.
I've never once said you need to be medicated.
I also read that if we can learn to accept, because I was like reading about us together as a couple, and it was like, okay, you guys are like not the most compatible, but you're not the least compatible either.
Nice. We're right in the middle.
We're right in the middle.
Of the teeter-totter.
And it was like you guys, like you're a lot different, but if you can learn to understand one another's personality, you'll be like any other relationship. And I was like, that's kind of how I feel like we are. Like, now that we've kind of like come to respect and understand one another, even though we're a lot different, and we're still going to get in arguments and disagree on things. I think we are at that place of respect, and then we can kind of just like come together and use, like, his strengths help me and my strengths help him in different areas. And I think honestly, that's where, even with both of our businesses, have gotten to the level we have because of us being together, and we kind of play off each other's strengths and weaknesses, I guess you could say.
I think the thing that's been interesting, I think respect has kind of been my word. And when you communicate, it's interesting because when you have no respect, you don't tend to communicate. Like the collision, it wasn't even a collision. Like the way I spun things during our conversation yesterday, normally that would have ended in like a week-long like deal. Like in the first like 10, 12 years we were married, like it would turn into this week-long battle. Then I'd feel sorry for myself. And then I would like do this pouty sex thing, and then I would ignore my wife, and then like even if she wanted to have sex, I would still like hide and pout, and then I would have even more energy and ammunition to be angry at her because we were having sex. And it all started from this inability to course correct when collision when we were so different. And part of being able to course correct comes down to respect. Right? It's the ability to not have to agree on everything, but the respect is what takes you through. I don't even think it's the love that takes you through. Like, I think people love each other, couples love each other, but they have no respect for each other, so they just fuck each other up.
Right.
All right. And I think respect is what changed us. It's like peanut butter. It's like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. We'd never had peanut butter. We just had bread and jelly. Who the hell wants
peanut
that?
Butter?
Yeah, nobody wants a jelly
sandwich. See, I'm never
going
to see respect like peanut butter, but that's okay. I don't have to agree.
That's because I'm a better, storyteller. I'm a Gemini.
Nice.
I like to use some analogy. Peanut butter. Oh. All right, so we have this communication. We got 5 minutes left.
Okay.
I'm going to spin this another direction.
We have 3 minutes.
We have like 4 minutes now. Less than 4 minutes. 4 minutes. All right, listen, whatever. Here's the last question I have for you to wrap up today's show. Okay. When you collide, it's inevitable.
Okay.
What are your suggestions from the female perspective when communication goes south? When it doesn't work and you've collided and you've both dug in and you're trying to be right. You and I have like a decade plus history of this.
I think it's hard because when you're getting an argument, it's like you don't want to just ignore it, because for so many years with us, like, we'd argue and I'd just be like, I'm not going to argue with you. Like, I'm not going to argue with you. Like, you're just, because you're very like high-low emotion, you get triggered easy, and so you'd get to this place where I was like, I can't reason with you. I'm not going to argue with you. Like, I don't care. But the problem is we wouldn't ever get past that. Do you know what I mean? And I also felt like I couldn't share you wanted me to communicate, and I felt like I couldn't share my feelings with you without you being triggered.
Blowing up.
And so it was hard for me. I'm like, you're asking me to communicate, and then I do. And so I was like, well, how do I reframe this where he's not triggered? And so I had to figure out how to get my communication across without being critical or negative, or I had to frame it in a way where, and it was hard for me because I wanted to just be like, dickhead, why didn't you just do this? I literally wanted to say it. I'd be like, what the fuck's wrong with you?
Right.
But I was like, do I really want to go down that path? Do I really want to start an argument? Or I'd be like, or sometimes, as women, like, we want to, tone is very important. Right. And we'll say something like kind of passive aggressive, but our tone's weird. We'll be like, well, why? Well, no, I wasn't saying that at all. And then you backtrack and say, all I was asking is this. No, you fucking weren't. Your tone was awful and you're trying to be passive aggressive. So if I were to give any women advice, go into it if you have some feelings that you're trying to express to your man. Try to like clear any issues of being don't go in wanting to antagonize, or just frame it in a way that you're actually trying to get past what you're trying to communicate. I don't even know how to try to communicate. Does that make sense what I'm saying? It's like, go into it in a way where you're not going to be passive aggressive, but you're genuinely sharing your feelings from your heart and not trying to necessarily win an argument. There you go. That's a good one, because sometimes, you guys can clearly see I like to win an argument. So does Garrett. Yep. And like, that's just our personalities.
Royal
Maybe
Rumble.
That's like our egos, like whatever. But you have to kind of go into it like, okay, if this is bothering me, I need to approach it in a way where I know that perhaps we can actually have a safe conversation and express one another's feelings without things going south. So frame it. So my advice finally, frame it in a way, come from the heart, not the head, and frame it in a way where you can actually get past your shit.
And for the guys, here's my suggestions. We wrap up this particular episode, and then we head back to my favorite episode. We could talk about sex again. Excited to see. Danielle brought out the QQPS, Quickie Porn Star, from the first episode on sex. I brought out TTF, Touch Me, Tell Me, Fuck Me, from the second one. And this third one, I don't know what's going to happen.
I already have some
You
ideas.
Have some stuff?
Yeah.
All right, I'm very excited
because I've been reading about you.
Can you give them some hints? One little hint about the episode to come. Next episode is sex, episode number 10. You got a little hint?
Can I give them hints?
Like a little hint that would like get them excited, like a little 50 Shades of Grey excitement?
Even in bed, people have different styles, and that's another form of communication. There you go.
Do you know where my mind went on that? Even in bed, you should get head. I don't know why.
That's because you're a Gemini.
I went there. All right. So
Taurus, slow and steady. Gemini, like it really kinky.
Hata! 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 All right, listen. Final thoughts for the guys.
That was a bad visual.
That was yeah. We got a lot. That went downhill real quickly. That's exactly what happens during the sex episode. So just get ready for next week. It's going to go downhill quickly. We're going to make sure it's going to be an hour long. So this show, the final thought from my guys though is simply take a look at this. The better you know yourself, the better you can communicate what you want and what you don't want to your wife. With Danielle and I's little collision here yesterday, we ended up coming back. We communicated. I backtracked a little bit on what I had said, but I also was able to come back and clearly tell her, listen, I always experience things as critical when you don't make deposits of gratitude and appreciation to me. When you don't tell me I'm doing a good job and the only thing I ever hear is the shit I need to improve, then I constantly go to this place in my mind of saying, well, this fucking crazy woman only tells me when I'm doing shit that I'm fucking up. I never get told that I'm doing a good job. I never get appraised for what I'm doing and creating. I don't get told I'm doing good work. So I didn't realize that inside myself for years and years, and it wasn't until I started studying myself that I could actually get clear. So being able to communicate that to her changed our conversation yesterday.
Question really quick.
Yes.
Do you, because you like validation and praise,
I like touch too.
Do you give it to people?
All the time.
Do you give it to me?
I give it to you, and then you don't even emoji my text messages.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, every day I fucking give them to you, and you say, oh, no, thank you.
Do you say it, or do you just text it?
I tell you do. I tell you you're beautiful. I tell you you're amazing. I say, go hug your mother. I said, give your mom a hug. Yeah, you're going to lose.
I'm going to pay attention to it.
You're going to literally lose on this one.
I'm not trying to argue again. I was just wondering.
Yeah, you should pay attention to it. Because if you paid attention to it, you'd realize it's raining from the heavens like manna.
And that's it for our show today.
All right, we're wrapping up. This is episode number 9. We're coming to a conclusion here. We're going to be in episode number 10 coming at you here next week on the topic of sex. Again, if you have not checked out the video version, the show notes, the tips, the tricks, the action guides here with this particular show, you can always head to dateyourwifenow.com. If you are a man who is looking for a deeper understanding of the science behind the warrior's way to having it all, ultimately the guide map I use as a man to be able to stay in a marital relationship and be a better husband and a better father, check out Warrior Book, found at warriorbook.com. And across the board, we have a series of other podcasts you may really enjoy. We have a podcast called Big Money Stylist, number one in hair and fashion and style. We also have a podcast called Warrior Wealth, number 17 in business. And we have another podcast I do every single day called Warrior on Fire. Maybe check those out, see if there's something that might be able to give you some little fire in the belly. As for this show, though, here on Date Your Wife, we're going to bring this episode number 9 to a close because we've got to go pick our children up and have a great rest of our Saturday. We'll see you guys later. And until next week, remember, date your wife. And your topic this week during your date is, well, talking about what you actually want. Bye-bye.